Too often in this hurly-burly time we live in, people tend to forget who they are. Of course, very few people really know who we are or where we're from or what our roots may be or what makes us a human being, what differentiates us from animals in a jungle or members of the subhuman kingdom. How are we different? And sometimes in remembering heritage, remembering past, the goodness of the past as well as the badness of it, we think of today and now. And across the microphone is someone who I feel is very rich in memory and what she has to say. And remember, she's an entertainer, a singer at the Gate of Horn, Maya Angelou. And I've always thought of Maya Angelou as an entertainer with a great deal of buoyant, good humor, and she has that. I thought of her as a rather sophisticated artist. I remember first seeing her at Mr. Kelly's, and friends of mine said, "You've got to see Maya Angelou." Today she performs at the Gate of Horn. You'll see her there now. Now, Maya, suppose we sort of talk about yourself. Who is Maya Angelou, for example? Where's she from?
Yes, I'm still searching to find that answer. And I hope before I'm 80 I'll know a little more. But the facts are, I'm a San Franciscan since I was 14, and I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, Stamps. The only way you can know this town is that it's so far and so far from some other town, you know.
Just called Stamps, Arkansas.
Stamps, Arkansas. And I'm singer, dancer, writer, I hope, liver, an observer, an absorbent kind of observer too, I'm afraid. So I'm buffeted, as I suppose all sensitive people are.
Oh, I'm thinking about you, Maya. You've lived in a big city.
Yes.
A good portion of your life. You've had some musical education.
Yes, dance and music.
And dance, and that's right, you were a dancer.
Yes.
Did you work with the Dunham Dance? I'm taking a wild stab here.
No, I worked with Pearl Primus.
Well, with Pearl Primus.
Studied with Pearl.
Who was I remember, she was in Chicago, it was 10, 12 years ago, as I
Yes.
remember. Very exciting. You worked with the Pearl Primus group.
Yes. And I had my own, and I've taught dance for about 8 years.
And you're writing, I know you're working on a folk opera with Earl
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
And the writing.
Yes.
It should be a tremendously...
He's going to do the music.
And you, the book.
Yes.
Now, what about Maya herself, where it begins? Here, then, as we know you now, the background is an urban one. It's a city one. But yet, I know you like the blues. You sing calypso songs, some African songs, the one, and the blues. And the blues, I know, pulls you, impels you very
Yes.
much. Why?
I can't say why. It's like a scent or a sense that is in my bones, is in my soul. I remember particularly in this town in Arkansas when I first heard blues and how I heard them. My grandmother had the only Negro store in the town, and she'd had it some 40 years. And about 4:30 in the morning, during cotton picking time, the people that owned the farms would come by my grandmother's store and pick up the workers. And about 4:30 in the morning, my grandmother would light lamps, and these men and women would come in with so much vitality and promises about how much cotton they're going to pick today and what they're going to get done and all that, and they'd buy stuff for lunch. And then the feeling of the store in the morning was one of life and hope and all sorts of wonderful things. And then in the afternoon, around 6, the workers would come back and the trucks would pile up in the yard and these men and women would get out. And it would be so heavy, so not relaxed. It was a tenseness that was just from exhaustion, really. And they'd come in and get food sometimes for dinner. But most often, a lot of the men would sit out on what was the front porch. And my grandmother, being very religious, would come right inside the door and close the door. And the men would sit there with guitars and sometimes juice harps, you know. and they'd sing these long, mournful songs. And my grandmother would sit right behind the door and say, I don't believe in that. That's worldly music. But she'd be patting her foot all the time.
As she's saying that,
yes, yes.
her heart was denying what her head was saying.
Yes. But she loved it. She wouldn't leave from behind the door, and the door would be cracked open just a little bit.
That's a marvelous scene.
Yes.
That's right, because she's very devout. And the blues
yes.
was sinful music.
Yes, that's worldly music.
Worldly music.
Yes, sir. She doesn't believe in it, and she'd just be nodding her head.
Big Bill used to tell about his sister would never let him bring the guitar in the house in Arkansas.
Yes.
Bill was from Arkansas, too.
Yes, sir.
And you described the scene in which the men are sitting outside at the end of the day.
Yes.
And they're singing, you say, a sort of a slow,
yes,
mournful blues. Something like this, perhaps. Well, of course, you know who that was.
Yes. Yes.
I noticed you were sitting here as you were hearing Big Bill sing. You were nodding, and you were saying something. You were just talking as you were listening to it.
Yes. It's transports me through time and space, and keeps me yet here. It is my culture. It is my great pride, my great joy.
Well, you say something now, Maya, that interests me and makes me feel very good, naturally. But now and then, Bill, in the latter days of his life, used to have trouble sometimes in nightclubs when some of the kids, young kids, Negro kids as well as white kids, would walk out on him. Yes. And Bill was told often by some of the kids who liked modern jazz, would walk and say, this is horse and buggy music. Don't remind us of the old days, Do you have a feeling that many of the young Negro kids, shun this kind of blues?
So many do, but I think we are having now a renaissance. I think are coming into a time when to be Negro is simply to be Negro. At one time, and unfortunately because of the negations, the Negroes were constantly, or the young kids, I too, at a certain time, was thinking, just allow me to be an American. I want to merge into the pot. I want to speak without an accent. That sort of thing, because the rejection of the Negro is so absolute, and the feeling every human being has of needing to be accepted. So one feels at one's youth, if we can get rid of the things that they are rejecting us for, then maybe they'll accept us. But as one grows older and as a race, as a people, becomes more aware of themselves, that same question, then I think it becomes they become aware that to know themselves and to accept themselves is then to be accepted by everyone. There's a thing, Walt Kelly, who I love and adore, has a new book out called Bo Pogo, and the frontispiece is just marvelous. He gives a sort of lecture to the children. Of course, the children are from 30 up, And he says, the greatest question in the greatest quiz show of them all is, who are you? And this music is what I am.
See, to a lesser extent, this problem or this rejection, to a lesser extent, because there was less oppression of other minority groups. People came from the old world, whether it's Jewish or Italian or Irish. People in the old world today we have among the Puerto Rican kids the problem, you see. There's a rejection because they want to be accepted by what is maybe the majority group, you see.
Yes.
But with the Negro, I imagine it was italicized because the rejection was deeper.
Complete.
But you feel there is, we know, for example, in the field of modern jazz, we know the giants of it, like Charlie Parker and Dizzy, love Big Bill. This
yes,
I know,
yes.
And Duke and Basie,
Max
of course.
Roach, yes, yes. Well, the thing is, the truth is beauty. No cleverness, man's cleverness, can approach the natural truth in beauty. So if a blues comes from the very soul of someone, how can this, if this is truth, then how can it not be beautiful? And how can we not draw from it?
So as you hear Big Bill sing this brought back to you memories of a small girl in front of your grandmother's store.
Yes, yes, the whole town, the dusty streets.
There's something you said too. She shut the door because it was whirly music, yet her foot was tapping.
Yes. And she kept it open just a little bit.
Just a little to hear this. Well, we come to this matter of spirituals. It has a similar history in a way too.
Yes.
And there's a book that you like. You know the author, and I met him once. John Killen's Youngblood. I think to me, it's one of the most inspiring books concerning Negro life in the South that I've read.
I too.
And in Youngblood, there's something he says, and I wish you'd expand on it. When the young teacher came to the small town, Crossroads,
yes,
Georgia,
Crossroads,
which may have been Macon, was it? Where was it?
Well, one expects Macon and all might have been in it. Yes.
Where John came
John
from.
comes from Macon.
But the Negro older people were afraid when it was going to be a spiritual concert at school. They were shunning because they thought it might be done in an Uncle Tom manner. And yet the young teacher who had come from North showed the nobility and the greatness of it. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I think I love the book. And all the sections are exciting and written with John Killen's blood, really. But that Jubilee scene, it's called, he calls it the Jubilee section, is the most exciting because it's the most hopeful. These children, every year, are give a concert for the white city fathers. And this occurs today in the Negro schools in the South. Every year, about commencement time or something, they give to do. And the older Negroes were afraid that they'd go up there and sing Go Down Moses with the tragedy and the soul, and who needs it, they felt. But the young teacher, whose name I think was Miles, Professor Miles from New York City, came down, and he arranged the Jubilee in such a way that there was talking in between, and the talking was simply the explanation of where the songs came from, that they didn't just jump up, but these were songs created by slaves, for slaves, to sometimes get around, always to get around the white overseer, but sometimes to just lift the spirits, and sometimes to lift the people bodily out of that place into another place, to Steal Away is a song that says simply steal away, because outside, by such and such a tree, there's someone from the Underground Railway to take you, and we can take 5 maybe, so to take you to North and to freedom. And this, in John's book, it just unfolds so beautifully.
So Go Down Moses had a real meaning.
Yes, it did.
Freedom, not just to another world across the sky, but to
the
better
right
world here on earth.
Yes.
Is the idea.
Yes.
And as you're talking about this, even now there are spirituals sung in the South not by trained singers or celebrated, but just in something this vain. I imagine might be voices of this sort might be heard even now. This is the element of jubilee you were talking about.
Yes, so joyful.
Lifting the spirit and the body too.
Yes.
Maya, of you now, you were talking now of your people, yourself. When did you leave Arkansas?
I was almost 14.
To San Francisco?
Yes.
And what happened? What led to your the dance and musical education?
Well, I'm now 6 foot. I was then, at 14, I was 5'11", and I think I weighed about 110 pounds or something like that. And I felt so awkward, I just felt horrid. And my people, the people I went to live with, my mother's people in San Francisco are short, and very handsome, beautiful people. And I was very tall and had the features of my father's people. And they always, made me feel like I was a cow, a truck.
Well, I should like to interject one thing right now. Maya, I should like to describe her as a highly attractive, feminine lady now singing at the Gate of Harlem. Continue with your story, though.
But I fortunately got a scholarship to a school in San Francisco where I took drama and dance at night, a college at night, for 2 years with Joyce Bryant. You know Joyce Bryant?
She was in Beggar's Holiday, as I remember.
Yes. Well, we were
Duke
both
Ellington's
the
Beggar's
same
Holiday.
age,
Yes.
and we were both ostracized. Joyce at the time, and now she's in a Seventh-day Adventist school now. She's given up show business, as it were. But we were both ostracized for different reasons. She was Seventh-day Adventist and couldn't do this and couldn't do that. And I was almost 6 foot tall and very, well, I had problems. So I learned to dance. And I found that this was my release. This was my freedom from all the pressures, the family pressures, the even prejudice, because it was during the war. And I had never known prejudice like this, because in a small town in Arkansas, the prejudices that I encountered as a child were like once a week I'd have to go downtown, and I wouldn't see whites, you know. But now, living in San Francisco, they wouldn't sit beside me on the streetcar. This is in
San Francisco.
That was during the war, when so many people came up from the South, white
yes.
people, you know. And then I'd go into the Negro neighborhood, and I was sort of not right in there either. And I found that dance freed me from all this. You know?
So dance became your way of life.
Yes.
Really. And with Pearl Primus, who herself, Pearl Primus, used themes
Yes.
that were always connected with reality, with living.
Culture. It's a wonderful thing to be living a culture, you know, to be aware of a living culture. It's a marvelous thing.
This was the dance. When did you take to singing?
About 5 years ago, I was almost starving, as we all do, and a friend of mine was a star in the Purple Onion in San Francisco. She's a comedian, Jory Remus. And I had tried to get her we tried to work out some way that I could make money out of dance besides teach. So she said she didn't like folk music. We were sitting one afternoon. And I said, well, you don't know the folk music from the Caribbean. This is beautiful music. So I knew a little piece of a song, and I sang it. And she said, great, you'll go into the Purple Onion as the star, you know. And within a month, I went into this club, and I had never tried to learn a lyric before. And I would go on the stage and forget lyrics. This is really what started me to talking in the nightclub. I'd forget the lyric. So I'd tell the audience, it seems I've forgotten the lyric, but I think it ended where the woman kills herself. Now I'm going to dance.
Audience loved it, naturally.
They did.
How did you know the Caribbean songs or the snatches of them?
I don't know. I don't know where.
Just picked
I
them up
can't.
there. I think we should comment about your technique in the club that's so endearing and I think almost ingenuous. And the humor that comes out, the naturalness, your interpolations as you sing. Do you prepare this? I'm just curious. Or what happens? It seems so spontaneous.
Well, I know generally what I'm going to say. And I have a feeling that there can be no barriers. There are no barriers between me and thee. There are none. Unless you have them. So I try to keep myself free of them. So when I'm on a stage, if it's for 50 people or 5,000, I have no feeling about talking to them, you know. They are human. How can they not understand sadness or joy or hope or despair? So I talk.
So this feeling does project itself.
Yes.
The quality you have, it's something that of which Pearl Bailey is a mistress. You know this almost complete freedom, it seems.
Yes.
And when Pearl sings, makes a comment about a song, I don't know to what extent she has this prepared or not. It seems so off the cuff. It's a release for everybody.
Yes. I've been likened to her many times, much to my dismay, because I don't want to be likened to anyone.
Well,
you know.
you are Maya Angelou and she's Pearl Bailey.
Yes.
But this quality that both have that is so good.
It's true.
You were in Porgy and Bess.
Yes, I danced the lead, whatever that.
Tell us about, you went to Europe.
Yes.
In many countries with I imagine there were some interesting experiences
Wonderful
that the company
experience.
encountered there.
Wonderful. A storehouse. Let's see, I feel about it, even now, as I felt when I left Europe, that if I start to talk about it, I may get 22 incidents in one, you know. But one of the most interesting, for me, the friendliest country I visited was Israel. We went to Israel after we'd been on the tour almost a year. And in each country, the people so often hadn't seen black people. And many of the women, most of the women in the company wouldn't go out because people would form just mobs, you know. But I speak a number of languages, and I felt if I had money, I wouldn't probably visit some of these countries. So now that I'm here, I want to see and hear and know. So I would go out, and people would come up, and they'd look at me, and they'd press in close, and I would speak to them in their language, and we would say something. Then they'd touch my skin and touch my hair, and then they would say, "She's very nice." I always felt that more than likely I would be the only Negro woman they would ever see, you know. And so the next generation, they'll be telling their grandchildren, "Yes, I did see this tall black woman one time, and she was so warm." So I want to leave a good feeling there, you know.
It's getting to know you, really, in a way.
Yes, yes.
What you said, how did you learn these various languages?
Well, again, it's almost, I'm afraid that it sounds mystical or metaphysical or something, but my belief is there's no barrier. So I listen, and someone says something, and I listen. And in time, in a week or so,
you have a way of picking up languages very quickly, then I take it.
Yes.
So the various countries, how many countries were visited, aside from Israel? Quite a few.
I visited, I guess, about 12. Let's see, we were in England, in France, in Italy, in Switzerland, in Spain, in Africa, in Israel, in Yugoslavia, Belgium.
The experiences were all pretty much, there was a similar...
Yes, until
curiosity.
we came to Israel. Now,
yeah.
This is why I loved it. One, you prepare yourself. I had prepared myself so many times walking down the street for the onslaught of curious people, you know, and trying to keep myself at peace that I might stand and be stared at and so. When we went to Israel, first of all, Mrs. Gershwin accompanied us, so all the newspapers had given great publicity. Israel is a small country. It would be impossible. Well, 2 weeks before we arrived, the tickets were all sold out. It was impossible for everyone in that country not to know that Porgy and Bess was coming. But when we got off the plane going to customs, for the first time, the people looked in the bags. They didn't press themselves onto you. They allowed us some privacy. You know, before, in every customs, they can't look in the bag. They're so busy looking at you, you know? But in Israel, it was as if, Porgy and Bess comes every day, you know? Then the next morning, we got in at night, and for me, it was like saying, take your shoes off, you're at home. Because the next morning, a lady in the hotel where I was stationed asked if I wouldn't like to go into Tel Aviv proper with her. And I said yes. So we went in, and she had to get some stock for the hotel, and she said, we'll meet back here in an hour. And I said, fine. And I started down the street, and a lady was approaching me with her child. And I was so used to people with their children especially saying, look, 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 you know, or running in the houses and getting people out. Yes. Here comes the woman with the child, and I prepared myself for the whole thing. And she looked up, and she turned her head away and walked past me about 4 steps, and I stopped, and then she turned around. And I went back and hugged her. You know, it was so lovely that we might sit in a restaurant and eat without a great deal of business. And the people in the theater. I taught dance in Israel, in most of the countries, but in Israel, all the dance students, would come and listen and take. And there was no great, it was simply a dance lesson that I had to offer. And the people would come to the Habima Theater and line the aisles and give rapt attention. And the last night, hundreds of people came backstage bringing figs, vermouth, brandy, candy, oranges, and they all went out to the airport with us, and our plane couldn't leave, and we sang, and, we can't leave you,
And whatever you mentioned, that was Israel. You mentioned Africa.
Yes, well, we were in Casablanca, and the company didn't take the sets for some reason, so we just gave concerts in Casablanca.
In some of the larger cities.
Yes, most of the people were French, most of the audiences were French.
So after the trip, then we come
Spain.
back to...
I think that's Spain.
Come back to Maya Angelou again today. Next, some of the songs you sing are African, too.
Yes.
You do a variety here.
Yes.
Of African folk songs, blues, and Caribbean songs, calypso. And your comment, would you care to talk about the nature of the work with Earl Robinson, the folk opera? The theme of it, that is, or is it too premature?
Well, I think it'll probably be premature after I write the end, But it's a story of a Negro woman who had lived in Europe for some time and returns to her home in Mississippi to get her mother. And the mother is a Negro Southern mother who is a little reluctant to leave the South. She knows it's bad, but she has a feeling it's better to bear the ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. And the conflicts between the mother and the young woman, and we have a hero, and the conflicts between the three and the town, and resolving these conflicts.
It's a powerful theme, the conflict between generations as well as peoples. Any idea, are you working on it now?
Yes.
Well, certainly the blues. It occurs to me that I know we'll come back to the blues, and there's so much. You like modern jazz too.
Yes,
of course.
I do.
And you see no contradiction here.
No, I went up night before last and listened to Dizzy and his aggregation, and they were telling the truth.
The truth of 1960.
The truth of 1960, which, if it is true, then must have roots in 1959, and which had roots and so and so and so. And the minute you deny this connection with the past, then where is the future? You have none. You have no present.
So certainly Dizzy and his band playing today, or any of the modern jazz, Max Roach playing,
yes,
or Thelonious Monk or Charlie Mingus, is not too far removed.
No, the night before I had heard Muddy Waters. They said the same thing.
Yes. Or say, this man, Lightnin' Hopkins.
Ah, yes.
This man, Lightnin' Hopkins, he's an original.
He certainly is.
And he's Houston, Texas. Bill, Arkansas, Mississippi. And yet that somehow, as something you said earlier, your memories as a small girl of the men sitting out front of your grandmother's store, it seems this is sort of the theme.
This is it. I was saying, too, that during the middle 40s, I guess 46, maybe 47, I was collecting these records, the Lightnin' Hopkins, Big Bill, Arthur Big Boy Crudup, and Charlie Parker, Miles, and even Lenny Tristano.
Contrast from the straight country blues to the most advanced,
yes,
way out of
yes,
Tristano. And you feel there's no contradiction here
I
at all?
don't feel there's any. I feel that the search for self is the search for self. And when it's realized...
Well, this was the theme. I think this is what we began with, the very beginning, Maya. And Here we've been sitting and talking. You've been telling us. We have an idea now of, or more important, you have an idea of who you are.
Yes.
And the audience can see you for the next 2-3 weeks.
2
Two
weeks.
more weeks at the Gate of Horn.
Yes.
You and the Clancy brothers. It's quite a combination.
They
Both-
are wonderful.
Well, both, each of you, so rich in your own way.
They are wonderful. Let me just tell you
Sure.
this. When I was told I was going to be on the bill with Irish singers, I first thought, of the Irish tenor that sings a perpetual Danny
Mother
Boy.
McCree, Danny Boy.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was so surprised. These are 4 lusty men, who sing, make the windows shake, And their songs, because they are rebel songs and songs of a people in and under oppression, are my songs.
It's just, you see the connection there.
Absolutely.
And they know who they are,
Yes,
certainly. Tom
yes.
and Liam and Pat and Tommy Makem.
So wonderful human beings.
And so there's a bill that I think listeners, WFMT, would enjoy seeing and hearing the artists very much. And Maya, thank you. And as you're here, since you're here, and I know the blues mean so much to you, there's a big Bill number you'd like to hear. Perhaps we can sort of go off on this one. Bill says the first one, he may even talk about it on this record. This is the Joe Turner. Joe Turner number 2. There are 2 versions of this, sometimes called the Blues of 1890. Bill recounts an incident that was told him in Mississippi, and perhaps he even talks about it. The guitar, actually, I never heard a guitar this way, Maya. He has a tune where the guitar is crying with a human voice speaking out. It's more than a song, Maya. It's a sort of a novel, isn't it?
Yes, it's life, as you say.
You just said it just now. It's like the story, Big Bill, and the story of life, and in a way you've been telling us your own story of a life and of life. Maya Angelou,
Thank you so much.
thank
sir.
you very much.